look at Daas Tevunos.
Switching to Daas for this one.
Right.
Daas Tevunos.
I know I've seen that some people have questions. As usual, just please email me the questions. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. We have some ground to cover. We have to do some Ramchal, and then we have to take a look at the Parsha. We were reading yesterday in our Friedlander's print, Daf Mem and Mem Aleph, page 40-41. And if you're doing the paragraph system, then we're still in paragraph 48. And what the Ramchal was explaining yesterday was that there are two basic ways that the Ribbono Shel Olam runs the world. There are all kinds of ways he can run the world. Rachamim, Gevura, we know all the Yud Gimel Midah, Shel Rachamim, and the Midas Adin, etc., etc. But all those Midos are subcategories of the basic two fundamental ways that the Ribbono Shel Olam runs the world. One, the Ramchal says, is Midas HaMishpat, judgment, right, wrong, reward, punishment, which is one of the reasons that the Ramchal wrote this whole sefer. If you remember, the whole sefer begins with a neshama saying to the seichel, I believe in the Yud Gimel Ani Mamins, and I understand 9 of them. 4 of them I don't understand. I don't understand Hashgacha, that God is supervising every detail in the world, because to me, the neshama says, looks like there's a olam mishapa. It looks like that the world is in chaos. This is the Ramchal writing in the 1700s, early 1700s. The world looks like it's in chaos, the neshama says. Where is the hashgacha? Second question was, where is schar v'onesh? Where is reward and punishment? It looks like a lot of what we call, quote unquote, people don't like the word bad or evil. Undeserving people are getting more than they deserve. And it looks like deserving people are getting less than they deserve. So where's the schar v'onesh? I don't understand Bias Mashiach. I don't understand Tchias HaMesim. Those were the 4 questions upon which the sefer is built. So now, the Ramchal is beginning the discussion of the 2 ways that the Ribbono Shel Olam supervised the world. In fact, he's mashgiach on every second, every millisecond, every detail. And in fact, there is something called schar v'onesh. There is reward and punishment. How that is done, part of it we can understand, and part is beyond our comprehension. The 2 ways Ribbono Shel Olam, quote unquote, supervises the world is mishpat, which means judgment, right, wrong, reward, punishment. Percolating under there or inside there is always the midas hatoiv or the midas hayichud, to bring the world to its ultimate state of perfection and every person to his ultimate state of perfection. And when I gave Daas Tevunos shiurim in the past, so I used the mashal. We used to do this when we were children. You have a table, and you use a bottle top, a bottle cap, when the bottle caps were metal. You put the bottle cap on the table, and the table wasn't too thick. You had a magnet. You put the magnet under the table, and then you would move the bottle cap on top of the table by using the magnet under the table. So the bottle cap would be moving in all kinds of directions, and it looks like the bottle cap is moving on its own. But there's a magnet underneath it that's actually controlling the direction in which that bottle cap is going to go. So if you wanted to put on a magic show, you would put a drape over the table. You put somebody under the table covered by the drape. You put a couple of bottle caps on the table. You put the person underneath the table has a magnet, and the little children are watching these bottle caps moving all around. And the magician is going like this with his finger, and the little children think that this person is able to move bottle caps with his fingers. But the bottle caps are moving, but what's moving it in the directions and guiding it all the time is the magnet under the table that you can't see. This is the idea that the Ramchal is developing now. There's Hanhagas HaMishpat. There is the Hanhaga of reward and punishment. Now, sometimes to us, we think that someone who deserves punishment is being rewarded, and someone who deserves reward is being punished. And we have that optical illusion because we don't have the full breadth of the Ribono Shalom's view of previous generations, past, present, future. There's a whole picture here we don't see. But underneath all of this, there's a magnet that's moving all the pieces that you can't see. And it's moving all the pieces through the Hanhagas HaYichud. So when I say that even when we look at the world, we see mishpat, there's judgment, there's reward, there's punishment that's being meted out, that's what we see. But percolating and bubbling underneath there or being controlled by a magnet is all Hanhagas HaTorah, Hanhagas HaYichud. That's what's moving all these magnets. So we see magnets, and we say this is a good magnet, it's a bad magnet, this is a punished magnet, this is a rewarded magnet. All's good because that's what we see. But what's being covered up under the table is the Ribono Shalom is pushing all these magnets in different places, the reward, the punishment, it's all to perfect the whole top of the table to bring it to its ultimate perfection. Now this is being done in a way that the Ribono Shalom in Chachmasei Elyon, in his infinite wisdom, decides through his Ratzon, through his will, this is the best way for the world to come to its perfection. We can speed that up, obviously. Chas v'shalom, we can slow that down. But the Ribono Shalom is there guiding the momentum. So if we do things, then things speed up l'toiv. And if we do other things, chas v'shalom, something else can happen. But the Ribono Shalom is never a mukhrach. He's never required to do anything. The Ribono Shalom could decide the very next second, halavai Ribono Shalom, that enough is enough. That's it. Mashiach's coming the second. But all the puzzle pieces are exactly not in place as you had planned. That's Ribono Shalom's ratzon. He's not mukhrach to anything. He can do it this second. So the Ramchal says on page Mem Aleph, after he just described this idea, which we mentioned yesterday, the two sides of the coin, there's a pasuk in Tehillim that says, Tenu Oz Elokim, empower God. There's a pasuk in Hazinu in the Torah, Moshe Rabbeinu said, Sur Yelod Chateshi, you weaken your creator. How do you weaken God and how do you empower God? So Ramchal explained, God has a will. His will is to send Toiv. His will is to be mashpia good. And the ultimate good is the perfection of the world. And the ultimate good is the perfection of man. And the Ribono Shalom wants to do that. That's his will. To the extent that we do the right things in our lives, we empower God to be able to do that which is his ratzon. We create a situation where God says, yes, I can perfect the world now because of what man has done. And that power is gone. Not that he doesn't have the power anyways, which what the Ramchal is going to talk about now. But in the course of events, we can give the Ribono Shalom the opportunity to fulfill his ratzon. Chas v'shalom, so you can weaken God, quote unquote. You don't weaken God's power. The opportunity that God's looking for to be able to be mashpia good, to send Mashiach and to perfect the world, we can set that back for a loss, chas v'shalom. That doesn't mean that that's the only way that the Ribono Shalom can run the world. The Ribono Shalom can say, enough, Mashiach now, no other cheshbonos. And that's what the Ramchal says now. And according, based upon the Ribono Shalom's ultimate sovereignty, big word today, sovereignty. According to Ribono Shalom's ultimate rule and sovereignty, Omar, he said in Zechariah, I will wipe off the sins of the land in one day. I can get rid of all the imperfections in one day, of course, in 1 millisecond. But the pasuk, the Chari is telling us that Ribono Shalom in his ratzon can do away with this whole process and say, this is what I want now. Another pasuk. People will continue searching for sins of Jewish people, and you won't be able to find the sin. But it was there a second ago. There was a whole bunch of sins in the whether it's Satan or the Goyim saying, there was a whole secular here. There was a whole bag here of Jewish sins. Where'd that go? I didn't see them do tshuva. I didn't see them fixing it up. Where did all this go? Lo simsa. It's not there anymore. God took care of it. Gone. You're looking for it. Go look. You can't find it anymore. So all this can be done in a millisecond. These are pasuk in Nevi'im. V'nei lefi midas hatoiv hara mishptei Hashem emes losis leish kedrocha mida k'neged mida v'habei drochem lamokem l'sham l'odem kepalo u'cha'orach ishim tz'enem l'chevet im l'shiftoi ach lefi atzes tuva b'chok shlemusa yisborach atzar hashova behem l'hachzos hakol l'toiv shalom l'tiken hagom hashiyah b'achroinim. Whether the Rebbeinu Shalom allows the process to continue until we do as much as we need to do to perfect ourselves, and the Rebbeinu Shalom sends Mashiach to finish the project, or the Rebbeinu Shalom says, in my Ratzon, I'm not interested in continuing the process, Mashiach this millisecond. Whatever the case is, both of them have the same goal, to perfect the imperfect person, and to perfect the imperfect world. Valdova Zenema, and for this idea, Malachi, the Novi Malachi says, a pasuk that I quote many times in the Ramchal Shir, Ani Hashem lo shanisi. I am God. I don't change. When we talk about this pasuk, when we say the Rebbeinu Shalom has no characteristic traits. He has tools. He is a Rachaman that he can use. He has a Midas Hadin that he can use. He's not like a person. That person is a benevolent person. God's not benevolent. God is God. We don't know what God is. We're not allowed to talk about his Metzias. But when God created the world, he created certain tools, chesed, din, etc. So that there's a concept, Ani Hashem lo shanisi. The morning doesn't start, and God says, oh, Geshmak, they're doing such beautiful avoid in the Beis HaMikdash. They're learning the avoid in the Beis HaMikdash. This is beautiful. They screamed, they said in the Beis HaMikdash, Chevron, wow, unbelievable. And then someone talks Lashon Hara and God changes his mood. Then they do a little more avoid. Someone does Achnosas Torah and God gets happy. You're talking about a human being. You're not talking about God. Ani Hashem lo shanisi. There is no change in God. Yud Kei Vav Kei is Yehovah V'yeh. He is the past, present, and future without change. This is critical to understand. We all know Yud Kei Vav Kei stands for Yehovah V'yeh. He is the God that was, is, and will be. So that means that he's always around. But something that's always around can change. Yeah, he was here, he was, is, and will be. But during those 3 periods of time, there have been changes in God, Chas v'Shalom. Yud Kei Vav Kei means he was, is, and will be, and never is subject to any change. And that's why we explained in the Rambam, which we're going to have to get to read, Perek Aleph Hilchos Yesod HaTorah, the Rebbeinu Shalom is the only true existence, because he's the only existence that doesn't go through any change. He's always here. He has no on-off button. There's no change in the Rebbeinu Shalom. And in the Zohar of Rav Shimon Bar Yochai, it says, Lo ashtani b'chol asar. There is no change in God under any circumstances in any place. But Omnam, I'm reading now from the bottom of page from Aleph to page from base. But Omnam, hanhogas haschar ha'onesh, he hamagulis veniris tomid lenyakol. This is what I was talking about, the magnets and the bottle caps on the table. What we see outside with our eyes appears to be a world that's based upon reward and punishment. Now again, the world is based on reward and punishment. We just think that it's messed up. We think that there are plenty of people getting rewarded out there, and there are plenty of people never getting punished out there. So there's reward and punishment in the world. People are making money, people are losing money, people are getting sick, people are getting healed, v'chulu, 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 v'chulu. So there's definitely reward and punishment going out there. We say to ourselves, we don't think this is being meted out appropriately. Chas v'sholom. That's a different subject. But we see a world where there is good and bad being meted out. That's what we can all see. And that's what we believe is happening. And therefore, because we only see the battle caps on top of the table, that's what we see. And we see the nice battle caps, well, they're not moving. And the ugly bottle caps, ooh, they're moving so fast. They're so successful. Something wrong here with the bottle caps. Who's running these bottle caps? But that's what we see. There's nothing to do with Gilgulim. Nobody get excited. We're not talking about dead people and Gilgulim. He's talking about simply a wheel. He's talking about the effect of gears. The way the Rebbeinu Shalom turns everything into good, no matter what you see at the top of that table, magnets, bottle caps are moving, some are not moving, some bottle caps fell off the table, some bottle caps flipped over. Whatever you see on the table, and you think some of it's good, some of it's bad, there's a magnet under the table. That magnet is kuloi toiv. And that magnet is running the bottle caps only for the benefit of the whole top of the table, so the whole top of the table is running perfectly. Amok amaku, that's very deep beneath the surface of the reward and punishment. And this will not be revealed, how everything that's done on top of that table was controlled by the magnet below, and how all of that control was exercised only for the perfection of the top of the table. At the end. But there's no question that the gears are constantly turning for that goal of bringing man to perfection and bringing the world to perfection. And the Rebbeinu Shalom uses every event, no matter how bad we see the event, the Rebbeinu Shalom is going to use the event to bring about perfection, bring about Geula. And that's for Friedlander's footnote number 14 at the bottom of page Mem and Mem Aleph. We mentioned yesterday one of his examples. One of his examples was Moshe Rabbeinu being thrown into the Yam Suf, and at that point, Amram gave a little patch to Miriam and said, "You prophesied that the baby would become the redeemer of the Jewish people. This baby's going to die. Mommy just threw him in a basket into the Nile. Where's your nevuah? He made a mistake." What Amram didn't see was what we just learned. You throw him into the Nile. Batia Bas Paro finds him, and Batia Bas Paro brings him to Paro's palace. And Paro feeds him and gives him a roof over his head and makes him a prince. The very child he intended to kill. He said, "Throw all the boys into the Nile," because my stargazer said, "There's a boy born today who's going to take the Jews out of Mitzrayim." Paro got nervous and said, "Throw them all into the Yam." The one boy that's drawn out of the Yam and into Paro's palace is Moshe, who's going to take the Jews out of Mitzrayim. V'na'apoichu. The Rebbeinu Shalom turns events upside down. Amram looks at it, and as I said, do your Google search or whatever search you do on your Hebrew University, whatever university, Bar-Ilan University, Shas, look up the phrase Gadol Ador. How many people are called Gadol Ador in all of Shas? One of the people that's called Gadol Ador in Shas is Amram, Masech T'Said, Daf Yud Gimel. He's a Gadol Ador, right? There are a lot of big people in Mitzrayim, big people. Amram's a Gadol Ador. And he doesn't see it. He gives his daughter a patch in the head and said, "The boy's going to die now. What did you do? Your prophecy's not going to come true." Tati, Mom, if you don't understand, the Rebbeinu Shalom is going to drain this meiser. And all the boys may end up dying in the Nile, but the one boy who Paro intended to kill in the Nile, the Redeemer of the Jewish people, he's going into Paro's palace. The Rebbeinu Shalom takes every event and uses it ultimately for the Geula. The Rav Friedlander brings down two more examples. Haman intended to execute Mordechai. So he didn't know what to do. So his wife and his buddies give him an idea, put up a big pole, a big stick, a big tree, and you're going to hang Mordechai on it tomorrow morning. Go to the Melech. Tomorrow is another party from Esther. Before the party, go tell the Melech you want to get rid of this guy, and then we'll hang him. And then you go to the party, Sameach v'Toiv Lev. Boy, you're going to be in a good mood when you go to that party, because the party is just you, Achashverosh, and Esther. What a privilege. 3 people at a royal party. Who are the 3 guests? You, Haman, Achashverosh, and Esther. Asa covered. But to make sure you're in a good mood at the party, we're going to kill Mordechai beforehand. So put up this huge wooden pole. Okay. So he goes and he asks the Melech, but he never gets to ask the Melech to kill Mordechai because that whole dream business comes up, and then you get the Melech telling Haman, go take Mordechai on a horse. Kachiyah says, and then the whole second party occurs, and the whole business with Haman falling on Esther's couch, the whole business happens. And what do they do to Haman? They hang him on the tree that he put up for Mordechai. So people the day before were looking at this big tree, this big pole in the yard, and people are saying, what did Haman just do here? He has a beautiful garden. What did he just do here? Why is he putting up such a big pole in his garden? He's going to execute Mordechai tomorrow. He's going to kill the Jew tomorrow. Who ends up on that tree? Haman ends up on the tree that he built for Mordechai. He actually put the tree in the ground. He put the pole in the ground to hang himself. But he didn't know that at the time. The Baruch Shalom uses every event to bring about Gulas Yisrael. Friedland brings out another example. Yosef had these dreams that his brothers would bow down to him. Okay. They didn't like that. Yosef had a dream that he collected stalks of wheat and his brothers collected stalks of wheat. And his brothers' stalks of wheat were bowing down to his stalk of wheat. Didn't like that either. And they were worried about this kid, this young man, 17 years old, Yosef. He's got these dreams about being king and he's going to rule over us. What do we do to get him out of the house so that the dream, we can start listening to his dreams, and we're not interested in his dream? What do we do with this 17-year-old boy? You know what we're going to do? We're going to sell him to Mitzrayim. First they thought they would kill him. They end up selling him to Mitzrayim. Now everybody feels good. First they go home and tell Yaakov, is this the Xonis Yosef? It's got blood on it. Oh, yeah. Okay. We got rid of him. He's out of the house. How long is he out of the house before anything happens? He's out of the house. 22 years. 22 years, they don't hear from him. He sold at 17. He spends 13 years in Mitzrayim. And then there's 7 years of the famine. So it's approximately 22 years. And they don't hear from him. And what are they all saying to themselves? They're all saying to themselves, Mazel Tov. Year 1, year 2, year 3, year 5, year 10, year 15. Come on. We taka succeeded. We got rid of this kid Yosef. We don't hear dreams anymore, nothing. The famine hits. They come to Mitzrayim. They come to Mitzrayim. Let's do this again. They sold him when he was 17, and he's Omed Lifnei Paro when he's 30. So about 13 years or so before they ever see him. 13, a little more than that. We were very successful. We got rid of Yosef. We got rid of the dreams. He's never going to rule over us. We're never going to bow down to him. And how will we make sure that we get rid of his dreams, that we never bow down to him, and that he never rules over us? We have a great idea. We're going to sell him to Mitzrayim. What did they do? They sold him to Mitzrayim. And because they sold him to Mitzrayim, all his dreams come true. They end up going to Mitzrayim because they need wheat to eat because of the famine. They end up going to Mitzrayim and bowing down to him. So they thought that they were going to get rid of Yosef by selling him to Mitzrayim. What they did is they set up the situation where all the dreams would come true. The Rebbeinu Shalom is running the world. He's running the world every millisecond. What looks to us like unbelievable chaos is Rebbeinu Shalom running every bottle cap on top of that table to the exact point it needs to be for the perfection of the whole top of the table. Before we go to the Pasha, I'll just maybe it's a story that maybe will elucidate a little more what Friedlander just said. When I was growing up, probably 5, 6, 7, my family davened in the Young Israel. It's called the Young Israel of Prospect Park. And in those days, you're talking about the early 60s, those days there was all kinds of shuls were shuls, but there was always this machlekes about how high the machitz is going to be. The whole bit of microphones, machitzas, even in the Orthodox shuls, there's always this issue with, and Rav Moshe wrote shuvas about the machitza, that, and then people had machitzas that were 5 feet high, but they were completely see-through, all kinds of things going on. The Young Israel Prospect Park, we're talking maybe now in 64, 65, maybe 64, 65, was a nice size shul. And it was, for those of us who understand what I'm saying, the orthodoxy, the Shema Torah mitzvahs of the 60s. It was a Shema Torah mitzvah shul. The Rav was Rav Langsam, Zechron Levracha, a Talmud of Rav Hutner. And there were these issues with the machitza, whatever the issues were. So my father said to the Rav, listen, we're going to raise some money here, and I'm willing to actually do the construction of, my father had a factory. He said, I'm going to do the construction of the machitza. So my father did the construction, he made machitza, top of it was like a yellow glass. So it was very interesting for the 60s. The women can see through, men couldn't really see through because it was yellow. Okay. At any rate, my father sat right next to the machitza. That was his makom kavua. And I sat right next to my father. Right on the other side of the machitza was a very old woman. Maybe she was in her 80s already. And she sat right on the other side of the machitza, so the machitza separated my father from this elderly woman. This elderly woman, okay, for those who understand what I'm saying, an elderly woman, she's already in the 60s, she's probably born in the 1880s, 1890s, she's American, and she has a certain idea of Shmiras Torah mitzvah, she's Shem Shabbos 100%, but those who understand what I'm saying, understand what I'm saying. So one year, I walk out of shul with my father, and it's Parshas Vayeshev. And the woman comes over to my father outside shul, and she says to my father, Mr. Lublin, I have a question for you. Okay. I couldn't ask you the question directly because there are no machitza you made, but that's okay. It's okay. So I have to ask you outside shul. I have a question for you. Okay. I come to shul every Shabbos for years. I enjoy listening to Kriyas HaTorah. And in those days, again, for those who understand what I mean, Kriyas HaTorah for a lot of people meant the Sansino, the big blue Chamoshim, and you followed in English. I said, I'm coming here for years. For years. And I keep on reading the English with the person who's reading the Torah. And every year we come to this story about Yosef, and I don't get it. Why does Yosef listen to his father every year and go out to look for his brothers when he knew that last year his brothers were going to sell him? Why does every year he fall into the same trap? My father looked at her and he smiled. And he said, it's a very good question. And as we were walking home, my father said to me, and I was maybe 6, 7, father said to me, do you understand what you just learned from this lady? This lady may be reading the Kriyas HaTorah in English, but she's living it. She's living the Kriyas HaTorah. She thinks that Mechivas Yosef is happening every year again. This is not like I heard this last year. She's reading the English as if it's mamish, a brand new Lahavdil novel. She's never read this before. And she's saying to herself, how can he fall into this trap? I think he did this once already. How can it happen again? So we talk about Mechivas Yosef. There's more than the Mechivas Yosef. There's a living story there. The living story of Mechivas Yosef is the Rebbeinu Shalom is doing unbelievable things in the world all the time. And it's not just history. These are living lessons. We talk about them at our Shabbos table. We talk about Mechivas Yosef and what are the things that you can take out today from Mechivas Yosef. It's a new lesson. One of the things is that the brothers had this great idea. We're going to get rid of this kid, and we're going to get rid of the dreams. Rabbis machshavos belevish, ratzas Hashem hisakum. A mensch can trachten, a human being can think, but the Rebbeinu Shalom is the one that does. You can make any plans you want, but the Rebbeinu Shalom's plan is going to come true. So Rebbeinu Shalom wants Yosef to be the viceroy, and he wants you to bow down to Yosef, and he wants Yosef to be a balabas, and you want to stop that. Go ahead, try. Sell him to Mitzrayim. And by you selling him to Mitzrayim, you will make the dream come true. By Haman putting up that tree, he will hang himself. And by Yocheved putting Moshe into the basket, into the Nile, he became the redeemer of the Jewish people. Hashem uses every event in the world in order to bring the world to perfection and in order to bring the world to Geula.